Hello, everybody. Welcome to ET Contact. Today is February 23. Today is my birthday. And you know who I am. I am Sway. I'm just recording this audio. Last night, February the 22nd, I did a live feed with Erin and Scott Montgomery. And, we just had a really wonderful, great discussion. Um, the cool thing was is just we kind of went all over the place concerning everything, but I'm glad that it happened. Unfortunately, due to technical issues, being the first live I've ever done, some people, they were telling me that they couldn't hear my audio at some point, or there was some kind of glitching going on, or whatever it was. And I was going back through the video, and I noticed it myself. So what I am doing is I am because we were cut off. My Wi-Fi went off for some reason. We were cut off, and I had to start the live again. So what I ended up doing is editing everything together from both sessions of the lives. In the first one, I'm basically cutting myself out where nobody heard me, but I am, gonna put in the video of them speaking, of Erin and Scott speaking, and and of course the second session. So where the video starts from last night on the 22nd. You'll get to hear them talking, and then eventually I'll be talking, and then it'll switch over to the second session, because like I said, we were cut off.
Well, at this point, I can definitely say it is exciting, and I am getting super excited, and I want to focus on this, and I want to do this. Just let me have time to research. Let me have time to meditate and try to pull out memories I don't have. Of course, I don't have the time to do that as much as I would like. However, this is not, this isn't the way it's been since the beginning of my understanding of contact. At first, I would be absolutely terrified. I would not sleep at night thinking, please don't come tonight, please don't come tonight. And now, having processed a lot of the trauma and the scary aspects of contact and gotten to understand a little bit more about myself and place in this phenomenon, not saying that I've got it all figured out, because I have it figured out. But I feel more comfortable in what's happening, and I think the more comfortable we are, the easier recall can happen, or just having a conscious flow of information, having to recall, because we don't forget, but even this week, like on Sunday night, I don't remember anything except waking up feeling like, oh my God, I must have been taken, which I later had confirmed, and then talked to you, and okay, so that did happen. However, on Tuesday night, I did have memories. So that was different. So I don't know. It just depends on the day. It depends on the day, but I am super excited about this. What about you? Okay. Okay.
Hello. All right, I'm gonna try that again, but all right. Mom, that was my mom actually. But okay. Sorry, you can hear me, but they couldn't hear me. I don't know. So
Can they hear us? That's the next question.
Actually, that's yeah. I think they can, because they're not talking about you. They're talking about me.
Okay.
All right. So we're just gonna go forward. I'm not gonna like drag on with this, me mic thing. No, but I just think it's exciting. I just think it's very exciting. And you know, within our conversation, Erin, you know, it's like, it just kind of blows your mind, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things for me personally, and you know, and being in ministry and Christianity and everything, I've always told people there's a lot more than what's being taught. You know, there has been proof that when it comes to the Bible, you know, and I say the Catholic Church, they have, you know, the Pope, the Vatican, whatever you want to say, they have, there's a lot of books that they've hidden, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and not just in Christianity, but, you know, history shows that they've taken, you know, the Library of Alexandria and so many other books that the search for truth is always out there, and you know it doesn't matter, you know, and I always tell people you know, I'm still a Christian. I still believe in Christianity and all that, and you know I may not agree necessarily with everybody, but I'm at least open to listening and learning new things, and you know everybody, you know, we're all searching for truth. We're all searching for truth. I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not gonna be judging anybody on what their perspective of truth is. You know, I rather have a discussion. Um, and the crazy thing is that with our experiences together as a group, it's kind of like we're kind of pointed into learning something different. You know, not necessarily away from whatever core beliefs we have, but just something new that we can share and excuse me, and bring peace together. Um,
Yeah.
and you know, and it was crazy because uh, Sunday night with me, and when I woke up and I was like, and I asked you specifically, Erin, because something told me to
Mm-hmm.
ask you about this, and I showed you the diagram and everything, and I couldn't remember what it was said in the dream, but then you said, oh, it looks like a form of Celtic cross, and I was like, oh, you know, and as soon as you said that, I was like, remember, I was like, I immediately texted, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, you know, I was excited, you know, but
Those were the exact words that were used, right?
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so what about you, Scott? I mean, with anything happening this week, it's, you know, and just any connections or anything, and uh, what, you know, and what, how do you feel about this whole connection between all of us? How do you feel about any, you know, everything that's been happening? And
Well, it's always interesting how we tend to find other contactees
Mhm.
uh, just kind of out of the blue. You know, it's we have this connection that I don't think anyone else can understand. You know, because we're this. I wouldn't say special, but unique unique group of people. You know,
Mhm.
uh, that that have a very unique experience. Uh, and you know, of course, none of us really know why, but we have we might have ideas, but we don't really know why any of this is going on. But it's always a really neat thing to me to see how we find other contactees or other spiritual people or other, you know, how we seem to automatically come together
Mhm.
without, you know, hey, are you a contactee? Hey, are you, you know, without having to say anything, you know, we find each other in the world.
Oh yeah, I think one of the coolest things about the group that David started is the fact that it's judgment free. You know,
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
judgment free, and no one's gonna ridicule anybody for whatever reason. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've had our sour apples where you know, we've had our sour apples where they would come in on a post and just start some nonsense. But you know, Linwood deleted one. I've deleted one. Other people, you know, and it's just, because we want to maintain that protection, that, having confidence, where people can have confidence in knowing that they're not going to be judged. I know, as me personally, in the Christian community, there's certain things I can't talk about. There's certain things I cannot talk about in the Christian community because automatically they're going to be like heretic or, oh my gosh, the devil. And there's I'm trying to remember the name of the channel on YouTube, but it's what it is that how can I put it? They take the UFO experience, they take the contactee experience, they take everything in our arena, so to speak, and they put it in a Christian perspective of, yes, okay, the Bible does not say the current Bible as we know it does not say this, and that. And the thing I appreciate about them is that they admit, and they're like me, they're Christian, and they admit, yes, the Vatican took away a lot of books. The Bible, as we see it now, is more just the basics, going back to basics. Mm-hmm. And if anybody does their history on when the church was reformed, how it separated from the Catholic Church, it was just going back to basics of treating everybody with love, honor, and respect, and the message of salvation and all that. Now, if and anything outside of that being viewed in a Christian perspective, let's say again with the ET thing, I say, yes, the Bible does not say this, but this is more about us as human beings as far as the basic Bible that we have now. But I'm willing to bet that, there's books out there that talk about other things, and that, if you have an all-powerful, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent God, right? And when I'm talking about in Christian terms, that created the whole universe, that created all the laws of physics, so on and so forth. And he created us. Why couldn't he create other creations? And if you think about it, the angels listed in the Bible, or the demonic presence listed in the Bible, those are a form of creation, just a different form from us. In the ET community, we would say that the angels are of a higher density, and the demonic beings are of a lower density. And and if the Bible is just, and here's the question that tends to remain out there, it has to be, well, if he created other beings, ETs, as we would call it, what about the plan of salvation? And I tell people, the plan of salvation it was just for mankind, and I'm just, again, I'm talking about in a Christian narrative.
Right.
Yeah, in a Christian narrative, the plan of salvation was for mankind, not for anything else, because I'm sure whatever, we call God, the universe, however people call it, right? Because there's so many different words that, every creation has its purpose. The dogs have a purpose, the dolphins have a purpose, the giraffe has a purpose, we have a purpose, the angels have a purpose, everybody, everything has a purpose. So in your experiences and in your beliefs, I guess the question is how is it mainly viewed as far as ETs and any other forms of creation, spiritual and all of that? How is it mainly viewed?
That's a good question. That is a good question. We both happen to be pagan, so we have a different view on, how the universe works. And not that it's different from Christianity, but it's a little bit more diffuse, I guess, in, you can talk to one pagan and they have an idea, and you talk to another pagan and they have a completely different view of how things go. From my perspective, and this is just like my personal spiritual journey, is that I have seen many of the ancient civilizations, deities, whether it's Greek, Celtic, Norse, Egyptian, whatever, those are all talking about the coming to Earth of an alien craft or alien beings. And that's just my understanding of things. Is that really how it was? I don't know. Doesn't matter. This is how I see things. This is how I understand things. And I know that it's trickled down. And if you bridge into the Christian mythology, if you look at the Sumerian myths and how that has added into the Bible, you've got, and you add in this information from like Zechariah Sitchin with the Anunnaki coming, and the stories of the angels and the Watchers and the Fallen, and how they protect the humans and things like that is very well paralleled to this other story, this other mythology. So to me, it's different people's ways of trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. But then again, there's that higher force, that higher, what in Christianity would be called God. There's this higher force that is operating around everything. So I don't know. It sort of all just falls under the same umbrella in a way.
Yeah, right.
It's like really confusing stuff. How do we boil this down in a few minutes in a conversation? It's hard.
Oh yeah, no, and I agree, and I think that's the reason why it's important for many of us to just come together and have these discussions.
Absolutely.
I mean, again, and I've personally seen this a real prejudice, and I'm talking about just in the Christian community alone, not just a prejudice towards a Christian like myself, and me also being a minister, thinking about different things and talking about these different experiences, but also a prejudice towards those that don't believe in Christianity. And, as you said, a pagan, or a Buddhist, or a Wiccan, or, Muslim, so on and so forth. And you see, and this is usually in a small minority in Christianity, but it tends to be blown up in the news, the media, where you see like a hatred, just like a hatred of, you're a bad person because you don't believe this, and you don't deserve to live because you don't believe this, and that type of nonsense. And
right, the thought that morals are mutually exclusive to one specific belief system.
Yeah, and here's and one of the things that in my ministry training and that I learned that they don't really necessarily talk about in churches is that there's what we would call the natural law of caring for each other, treating each other with respect. And we're not talking about 10 Commandments stuff or anything. We're talking about we all were born with the right to choose. We were born with free will. To the right, the gift and the right to choose whatever path we want to go on. We natural law of taking care of each other as human beings, of loving. These are things that were later on taught in the Bible, and when Christ came on board, he just reiterated the fact of, hey, treat everybody with love, stop this nonsense, and it's a shame that, in my opinion, it's a shame that it needed to be done. But throughout the years in the Christian community, and it's like you kind of have to remind people, hey, treat everybody with love and respect, and care for one another. It's not, that shouldn't be something that we need to be taught. That should be something that's inherently within us.
Right.
And it's just, it's a shame. It's a shame. And it's funny because some of the greatest people, including yourselves, some of the greatest people that I consider family, that I consider, more than friends, are not Christian. They're not Christian.
Oh no!
And I remember I was preaching on the pulpit one time, and I even said it. I said some of the best people that I have met in this entire world are not Christian. And like I said, I consider you, both of you, brother and sister. And just like with Linwood and Miles and everything. But it's like some of the best people out there that has shown me the more compassion, more love, and more understanding are not Christian. I know, and and Christians hate it when I go out there and bam, like sheepish. I mean, I'm sure in the pagan community and in the Islamic community and Buddhist community and all that you have those people out there that will show hatred toward.
There's always the human factor.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, exactly, Scott. Exactly, and I mean. How do you feel about that human factor that comes into play when people just show hatred towards one another?
I think this is a really interesting question, and to draw back into the fact that we are contactees
Yes.
is the fact that these are some of the messages that we're given time and time again in dreams, in contact. Love one another, take care of your planet, and please, just spread that love. I mean, that's, I've, in my own writings, and I quail, why me? Why do I have to deal with this? Are these beings good? What is their agenda? And I tell myself, hold on. What is it that they're telling us?
Mm-hmm.
And those are the messages. Take care of each other, love each other, take care of your planet, because that's what's important. And those are the messages that we get time and time again.
Exactly. And, and people often question, okay, the word contactee, and, and there can be so many different descriptions or definitions of it, whether,
right.
And for me, I just say that it is a contact with a higher being. When I talk to the religious folk, the Christian, Muslim, and what have you, because I tell them, when I finally reveal I'm a contactee, they're like, well, what is a contactee? Well, let me see. A contactee is someone that has been in contact with the higher beings or being, and
right.
and relating it to terms that they would understand. I say the angels or God, or because that's what it is. It is a connection with the higher being, and you may see you may see the higher being as something else. I may see the higher being as something else, but essentially we're being contacted by something higher than ourselves. And the message is clear. Hey, cut the crap,
Exactly.
and love each other. Period. It's like cut the and part of my French, but cut the bullshit. Love each other. Take care of each other. Take care of the planet, because there's only one that we have.
That's right.
And take care of the beings in the planet.
That's right.
And
absolutely.
It's like we were given domain, and it's funny because it goes, again, within my background, biblically, we as people, we're given domain of the planet and of the animals. And what the hell have we been doing over the past several generations but destroying this planet, abusing animals, and abusing each other?
You're absolutely right. However, I think that we are starting to see a little shift. I think we're starting to shift.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that people, I'm going to say like us, which is, I don't know, I'm sure there's bigger groups, but I know that the more we band together, and I don't know if there's something specific, our particular little group of, I don't even know what to call us, but it's like a little pod that we
right.
have. And we're, just for the audience, we're taking at the same time every time, just about. And we have these connections that are indescribable. Like I've never met you, Jose. I've never met you in person. and yet you are dearer to me than, you know, most of the people in the town that I live in. I just, that these connections are so intense, and I cannot help but to think that it's for a purpose, such as to help spread these messages of love, or to help, I don't know yet. I mean, we're so early in the process of figuring this all out, but.
I agree. I'm sorry. I just keep talking. I'm still working with something because I'm getting a knock saying I can't hear you. But you know what? What I'm gonna do is that because this will, I will. I know I'm recording audio and stuff too. So if I gotta like re-upload, it's not a big deal. But
right.
No, but I agree with you. I think personally, you know, again, we just in one of our conversations, Erin, where I said, you know what, it's not about the differences. It's not about our differences, whether it's our differences in beliefs, creeds, or what have you. It's more about our similarities that's important. You know, I believe in coming together within our similarities and having like these discussions, and you know, getting together and just whether we're having a coffee or a beer or whatever, you know what I mean, and just having these discussions, and and essentially, when it comes to our differences, yes, we can discuss it openly with each other with no judgment and no hatred, just nothing but love and compassion. That we will see that even in our differences, we have more in common than we ever thought.
Right. Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I think that just over this past week, we've found that out more and more with our shared experiences.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean,
and it's almost like on a daily basis, like, oh my God, did you experience this? What can you tell me about this? And everything has just fed off of a previous experience. Like either you experience something and ask me a question, or I say, hey, did you experience this? And you say, oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
it was just a continuation of what was being taught to us or what have you. And and I'm going to talk about Sunday night real quick, and where, again, like I said, I was in a room and I'm being shown a form of, set of like what I say tarot cards, because, that's what the closest thing that came to my mind. But as as I showed you the diagram, that the way it was. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Very good. Scott got a.
Okay, good. Now we have the audio perfect on YouTube. I can hear it now.
Well, that just makes you wonder what was going on.
Well, here's the thing. As we're talking, I'm starting to feel the influx of energy. And
what did you feel?
It was just,
like, describe it.
All right, it was and the best way I can describe this is like when I'm on the pulpit, right? And I get like the energy of what we say the Holy Spirit. And it's just a warmth. For me, it's a warmth. You feel the vibrations go. It's just like everything surrounding me. Everything surrounding me is just different. It's like a real. It's comfortable. It's peaceful. It's loving, and it's just like, but it's just intense. It is intense.
Right.
And it's like, and the thing is, when it ends, it takes a lot out of me. And this, and because I guess this is the first live I've ever done in having this kind of discussion. And with the technology so close to me, my laptop right here and everything, it's like it kind of shorted out or took my Wi-Fi off or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that these kinds of things actually happen a lot.
Oh yeah.
I've heard a lot of chatter lately about things like this happening, like Siri and Google doing searches and talking to people when their phones are like on silent, and like even in drawers, and interrupting audio videos like this. I mean, doing all sorts of crazy things, and they're all contactees that I've heard mention it. I really haven't heard it from anybody else
it is
recently.
crazy. Yeah, well, it's crazy how it just happened, you know, like, wow.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's going out on my end. It's going out on my end, and and it's like, I guess mainly because all the technology is here where everything's streaming out. But it's just like, it was intense. It was intense we were talking about what we were talking about, and all of a sudden I'm like, and it's weird because the way I describe it, it's like, it's not me, like presently the way I am, the way we're talking now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm conscious. I am conscious, and I am self-aware of it, of what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get into that mode, it's kind of like I hear myself saying it. I know I'm saying it, but it's not me saying it. If that makes sense.
So it felt like a channeling then.
Yeah, you know, and like I was telling people, I don't consider myself a channeler. I don't consider, because it's not really what I do, you know. But you know, the telepathic message that I would receive from, what I say is God, the angels, and so on and so forth. It's like it does flow through me, and I am in control most of the time. But then sometimes it's, usually when I'm on the pulpit, not in person, it flows so much that I'm like, like I'm just kind of sitting back.
Yeah.
So, it's like, it's never happened on a phone call, video chat, or anything, but I thought that was kind of cool. I was like, hey, yeah.
And now it has. And our technical difficulties happened before the whole thing started. We had to restart the computer, and all this stuff was going on. And we've been kind, and it's, we're fine, and it's calm here. Yeah. I'm not feeling the energy fluctuations right now or earlier. So it's weird. Yeah, it's very strange.
No, yeah, it's just, the thing is that you, from my experiences, you never know when it's gonna happen or where,
Right.
I mean, we could be on the phone, and it's weird because of the way that I feel energies. I may not necessarily feel it at the same time you are, but I will know that you felt something. And there's been a few times where I was on the phone, and I'm talking about early 2000s. I was on the phone with somebody, and we can consider him a contactee. Just he doesn't realize he's a contactee. And we were on the phone, and all of a sudden he felt something. He felt something powerful. And I knew he was feeling something. I knew he was feeling something. And as soon as I mentioned it to him, I was like he didn't make a sound or anything. We were just having a conversation. And I was just like, did you feel that? I just said it like that. Because I know I didn't feel it, but I know something was happening. And I was like, did you feel that? Was it strong? Was it, how do you know? I'm like, I didn't want to get into details because, again, the Christian community,
right?
But I was just like, it was funny because even though I didn't feel it, but I know what he felt, and I was like, did it feel almost like a cool breeze, like really hitting you? Or I was just describing different things to him, and he was like, how do you know? I'm like, I just know. But from my experience, like I said, it's just you never know when it's gonna happen. So it might happen for like the way I felt it. You may not have felt it, but you kind of see the evidence of it, or you might feel it later. Yeah, or you might feel it later on or something. You just never know. It happens when it happens.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right.
But I think the one thing that I've learned throughout the years, mind you, I'm only 36. I'll be 37 tomorrow, and
yes, happy birthday!
Yay, right?
mind you, like I'm still considered young by many, but people, depending who you ask, I'm either still young or I'm an old soul or whatever, and I take whatever compliment, but from my experiences, and I know, many have, that, and remember we were talking about this just the other day, that even when I put it in my video, that distance, time, and space are not they're not a barrier.
That's right.
The time,
That's exactly right.
exactly, time, distance, and space, or time, space, and distance, they're not a barrier.
Well, time doesn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the best way, and it's funny because I do talk about this to different Christians and even some Muslims, and some Jewish people, and I would tell them within their own scripture about what I mean, and
Mm.
the best way to, I guess, for me to describe time, in in essence, the way that we that I tend to describe time as meaning linear time, from A to B, the way we see it in these 3D bodies and what have you, is just, how can I put it? The events that are happening, right? So if I'm here in my house now and I'm walking to the store and that takes 20 minutes, right? The events from the events and the experiences from A to B within that 20 minutes, it's like the reason why we experience time the way we experience it in that linear fashion is because of the 3D bodies that we are in, or the avatar bodies.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Or the
It's,
avatar.
Right.
it's because we perceive an end. Our bodies have a start and an end point.
Exactly.
So since we perceive that, we see time as a linear thing when in fact it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Even if you look back towards the Big Bang, if you look back, there was something that preceded that. There's something that will exceed what we have now. So.
No, exactly, and I totally agree, and it's one of those things is that, and speaking in general, spiritually, spiritually speaking in general, um, we can, if anything, for the most part, agree in when we're talking about, what we call God, universe, spirit, what have you. Um, it He, she, it is infinite, always existed, was always there. Alpha and Omega, as they said in the Bible, beginning, end.
Right.
But there is no beginning, no end. It's just is what we call God, universe, spirit, what have you, um, always existed. And as you were saying, Scott, within our bodies, the way we perceive time, and when people and if you think about it, when people question, well, how does God exist, and blah 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 blah, well, if we're gonna really answer that question, we kind of have to go out, think outside the box, and people tend to not want to think outside the box. And if we're thinking,
No, they really don't.
yeah, and yeah, and if we're gonna, and again, I'm just talking about generally speaking, spiritually, I'm not gonna get into dogma or doctrine, but if to believe, to know and understand that God, and I'm just gonna say God, that God has been eternal, always there, from there's no beginning, that God exists outside of what we call time. God exists outside,
Right.
God exists outside of what we perceive as time and space and matter and distance and all of that. That, whether, whatever belief system that we have, whether it's, being a person, consciousness, thought, what have you, of whatever God is, we can agree in the understanding that God exists outside of that. And, and if we can come to at least that one agreement, and then understanding that things are starting to kind of piece together, as far as when we get contact from what we call God and what have you, but that's coming from outside space, time, matter, and distance, then we can understand how these prophetic visions come into play, because again, time doesn't exist. If you
That's
catch my
right.
drift, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, what would be your advice to anybody that's that they know they're a contactee, but they don't know who to talk to about it? They're kind of scared of being ridiculed and judged and all of that. What would be your advice to that?
Wow, gosh. The first place I would send people that felt they were contactee and needed somebody to talk to is to our group that we have, or to other similar groups such as Yvonne Smith, CERO International, or just, finding somebody in the community that maybe perhaps knows about it. Oftentimes there's MUFON in a lot of areas around the country. I know that there's one here in particular that we have gone to, and that's something we haven't talked about, is the fact that we are in Roswell, New Mexico right now. So it's not like the UFO phenomenon is unknown around these parts. I mean, that the entire town economy is based on the crash that happened in 1947. So that being said, nobody around town really wants to talk about it, except for like me. So and maybe your uncle who runs the museum, but
my uncle is actually in charge of the UFO museum here in town. He's head of the board. So yeah, so it's just kind of that. I just Googled contactee help.
Yep.
And the first thing that came up was abducted by ET. There is now a support group for you, and that was done by the Telegraph, an article. So there's resources out there, and being anonymous enough to get on the internet, and Google it is really a good step. That way they don't have to expose themselves to someone that may do that, may ridicule them, may shun them, or where it may jeopardize someone's job or family or status or any of that sort of thing. But you can, the internet's such a vast resource.
Oh yeah, that's
very true.
Like I tell people, we have the sum of all man's knowledge in our pocket.
Oh yeah. And Miles B is in the chat, and he's
Miles.
Yeah, that's our brother. Again, for some reason, I guess the energy still hasn't dissipated as much, but people are here.
Ooh.
But no, he said he had a dream the other day, and he was asking people what time it was, meaning the year and time. They didn't know what he was talking about, so there was no time. And again, that just kind of confirms even more.
Right. Right, and that's true. A lot of the work that I do is, and I loved your hand motions that you're doing outside time, because it does seem that we live in a bubble, of this is where time exists, but you step over here and it doesn't exist. And so a lot of the work that I do on a spiritual basis, on an energetic basis, is outside this idea of time. Mm-hmm. And so it's really hard actually skipping back and forth. There's an excellent movie though that can help describe this. It's also a short story. The movie The Arrival.
Oh, I love that movie.
Came out. Yes, and so the humans speak linearly. They are all linear beings, and then the septopods are all they speak in a circle because everything is all encompassed, all in one thought, beginning, end, and everything is all together. They are existing outside of time, and we experience her, the main character, understanding this change of time as well as we're getting flashbacks, forward information in the middle. It's just all over, but that's her understanding of time as a whole instead of bit by bit by bit. And so when I do spiritual work, oftentimes it's working on what people call past lives. Too big to get into now. I see it as a little bit of a different concept. However, I'm able to see lives from beginning to end, the whole thing, and relate it to the now, or whatever that needs to be done, because this is a construct that we humans have created to understand the world around us.
No, definitely, definitely. And I mean, as you're saying, like within the movie, The Arrival, um, within her experiences of going back and forth, and her trying to grasp it, and the fact that they were teaching her the universal language.
Yes.
You're teaching the universal language, and in her and kind of in her journey of trying to grasp that idea of um understanding time and so on and so forth, and it sort of parallels, let's say, I would say, both of yours understanding, my understanding of there is no time. It kind of
Yes.
it kind of parallels it. Like, we can kind of be like, wait a minute, like, even though we didn't exactly experience what she experienced in the movie, because it is Hollywood, but we're,
Right.
yeah, but we kind of mirror that to ourselves, and we're like, wait a minute, hold on, okay, yeah, 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 that's his, I kind of went through that, I kind of seen that, and
Yes.
yeah, it's exciting, that whoever wrote that script.
It's actually based on a short story called The Story of My Life, The Story of Our Lives, something like that. Can you look it up real quick? By Tom or Tim Chiang, Chiang. It's an excellent, excellent short story. It is amazing. I think it's The Story of Our Life.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly. Scott's looking it up really quick.
And, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a contactee himself.
Story of Your Life by Ted Chiang, Chiang. Yes, I loved that story. I read it. Of course, I read it after I found the movie, or watched the movie, which came out on 11/11.
Yeah.
Linwood, by the way, back whatever year that was out. 2017, 2018, 2017.
2017, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember too, speaking of the energy that you feel around you now and the way the technology is messing up, I remember going to that movie and I was super excited because I understood that it being released on 11/11 was an extremely important date. Scott, on the other hand, didn't realize, right, that it was going to be a movie full of love. He thought it was going to be a shoot 'em up alien flick.
Right.
And we walked into the theater and I felt the most beautiful sensation of love. It was just like walking into a warm embrace into the movie theater. I was like, yes, this is what I was hoping for.
Oh, yeah.
And he was confused because he didn't, I had already put those numbers in place. Like if it's released on this date, this is really important film for spreading the word of contactees. And it really was.
No, yeah, I mean, I didn't see the movie until actually 2018, late 2018. That's when I saw the movie. I was just going through my Hulu and I was like, let me see what movies are on there. And it took me, and I found the movie, I want to say March of 2018. I didn't get to it till about August or September. And when I saw it, when I finally saw it, and at that point I started really researching certain things, certain topics, and it gave me the knock on the head. Hey, watch the movie. Watch the movie. And yeah,
Yep.
and just from for me personally, beginning to end, I just kind of I felt that warmth, and
Yes.
and anytime on my channel or anytime on a live in the group or what have you, when I talk about my experiences, so everybody will experience something else, but I want to at least share my experiences. And like I will always say, anybody sharing their experiences, I'm a healthy skeptical person. I have a healthy skepticism. So I won't take
I
everything.
don't think I do.
Yeah, but I just mean that I won't take everything at face value, but I'm not gonna call somebody a liar right away. But you know, um, through everything that we've experienced this week and before, I already know, and talking between us that okay, yep, that's right, you know, and
Hmm.
going back into the question I asked earlier about contactees, how to kind of get started. What would you recommend that the outlook that they would have? Like like I said, I have a healthy skepticism. I don't believe everything uh, at face value, but I don't um, say everything's a lie. I actually do research and talking and whatever.
Right.
Do you think that's a healthy approach for other contactees, or should they be really heavily skeptical about things?
I think that it's healthy to be skeptical about the situation. Period. I mean, because there's a lot of information that's already out there. So, what have you absorbed in your mind that could be influencing that? What out there on the media or on YouTube or what have you? That maybe you absorbed and put into that. So it's good to be skeptical about it. That way you can learn more about it and feel, because the big thing really is feeling inside and feeling your own intuition on whether it's real or if it's something outside of you, or if it's something that you're really experiencing. You know, uh, like when I threw my breathing machine across the room a couple of weeks ago, I
Yeah, screamed and ended up on my side of the bed. That
yeah,
was fun.
yeah, I saw like a wave, like a shimmering wave, and I threw my CPAP machine at it. It still works. It
Yeah.
still works, but uh, and I screamed and was in absolute hysterics over it. But being skeptical about what you're seeing in the middle of the night or what you see during the day is a healthy way to live your life, as far as, but not being too skeptical where everything is a lie, that sort of thing,
Exactly.
you
So
know,
find a
but
healthy balance.
find that balance. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Now, uh, see, I'm trying to remember exactly. I apologize. No, okay, okay, now, both of you and what you do spiritually and helping others as light workers, and dealing with cards, the tarot cards and all of that.
Hmm.
Again, because as I've said before on this channel, is that I don't do pendulums, I don't do tarot, I don't do Ouija boards, I don't do none of that. That's just never been my thing. I've always been more just the direct telepathic contact. And when you're doing tarot, and I understand that there are things that need to be done. I know I do know a lot of people that do tarot. So I guess my question is that when you're setting up the cards or displaying them or arranging them, right? When you're arranging the cards in whatever whatever order you're using, whether it's the Celtic cross or whatever, is there a telepathic connection you feel with higher with the higher beings, with the higher selves, or like, do you feel kind of like some kind of energy of something's going to be said, and then once you arrange the cards, you read what you read basically of what it's saying? Is that something that happens for you?
Yeah, I think having that connection is important.
We read cards completely differently, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that everybody that reads cards completely differently. I'm at the point where I use the cards of people because people expect it. They want a show of some sort. So I lay down the cards and I'll go through what each card means. But at the same time, I'm listening. It's like I've got somebody talking over my shoulder, and I'll, and they'll notice me too. I'll look to the side and I'll be listening, and then I'll relay what I'm being told. So usually what the cards say is related to the question they had, or the information that I'm receiving, which I can, I'm able to perceive that yes, there's a message here, but there's a message here as well. And there's more information than just what's on the card. And I use it like as a jumping board, or a diving board to start in on a, sorry, we got kitty contact going on, just to continue on the reading, because there's this information from guides who are speaking to you, and this is the information you have. So in a way, the cards to me are just, I don't know, it's just like an open door so I can get more information, if that makes sense.
Kind of the same for me, really.
Is it?
I mean, I have a lot of the like numerology and all that sort of thing memorized with it. So I can use that information, but I 90% of the information I get is intuition. What the source is telling me, what the divine or the universe. I see the universe as one big giant living organism. It's something that's alive, that breathes, that's like we said earlier, has always been, and all that. And I think it gives us little messages here and there. And I think using illustrated things like tarot cards or runes or I Ching, or any of those things, can really help tease those messages out a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I just, I think it is very important to have that intuition. As some people say, that gut feeling. Trust that gut feeling. Whatever anybody else may call it. We, just in general terms, to have that gut feeling, that intuition of just knowing something. I think so many people are, because of everyday life, because of technology, or what, whatever, you name it, they've lost focus. People have lost focus in general, and not using that intuition, and not, everybody has that gift of that intuition. It's just a matter of learning how to use it correctly. And since, unfortunately, because people don't know how to use it, or how, that's when they would have to go to like people like us, whether it's in the church or whatever, so
Right.
But I think it's, whether, regardless of what, whatever it is that people, go to you or go to me to, or they'll go to Linwood or whatever, the fact that we are together, doing it in love and compassion and understanding, and also in trying to show them, hey, look, you have your own gift of intuition, of knowledge.
Yes.
So I just think that's awesome, and as I was saying earlier, that if we could put the differences aside and start with the similarities, having communication, and I'm not even talking about our group. I think it was easier for our small group because we were already open to it. But I'm thinking,
Right.
yeah, but people in the world in general, if people are just open to just, shut the hell up and listen, then, you know what I mean? Then
Right.
maybe, maybe there would be less drama, less wars, less BS in general.
Right. Which again is one of those messages we're receiving from above.
Exactly. All right, so you know what? We've been here for a while, right? Almost an hour, right?
Yeah.
It's been awesome. It's been awesome, and hopefully we could, I would love to do this again. Just come up with different
Sure.
topics, and
Absolutely. I
yeah.
feel like we barely scratched the surface,
Oh
man.
yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. But and it'll be awesome to do this again, and hopefully next time I'll be able to get this stuff working a little bit better, not having the issues we had today. But at least
Maybe, maybe not.
you're right. You never know. But you know what? But when I say goodbye, don't hang up yet. But
Right.
yeah. But to anybody out there, who's a contactee, and you would just like to get in contact with any groups, if you go on Facebook, look up Chosen ET Contact, um, or you could look me up, Josue Mercado, JOSUE MERCADO. I can't put a graphic or else I'll be out there. Or Erin and Scott Montgomery.
Right.
Look them up as well. Just no judgment with us.
Absolutely not.
Nothing but
Mhm.
love, light, and compassion. So for the both of you, is there anything, any last thing you want to say before I close it out?
It's been an absolute pleasure, a lot of fun. There's been some interesting stuff, and I kind of want to rewatch the footage because there's some stuff I've seen behind you that I want to take a closer look at.
Oh, definitely.
So yes, the energy has been very odd, but everything is so exciting. Everything that's happening right now is so exciting, and I just can't wait to see what happens next.
Awesome. And what about you,
Yeah,
Scott?
thank you for talking to us.
Oh yeah.
So thank you for talking to us. So
Anything.
it's been it's and and advice to others is look for that acceptance within yourself first. That's where it's got to start.
Hey everybody, how are you doing? And it was really cool, the second session where we were just talking a lot more about different things. As I was getting ready to say goodbye to them, asking them for some last words after Scott finished, we got cut off again. And it was, either way, I enjoyed having them on the show. I enjoyed having them on the channel. I love them very much. They're, and as Erin said earlier in the conversation, it's like we never met in person, like physically here in person. But it's, both Erin and Scott are very dear to me. I consider them more than friends. They're family to me. They're my brother and sister, and it was just a wonderful pleasure having them on the channel, and and speaking with them. I can't wait to do another live feed, and I will make sure the second live feed that any live feed I do from now on, that everything, all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, to make sure that we don't experience any of these issues again. But it was just, it was a wonderful overall experience, and I hope you enjoyed it. So until the next episode of ET Contact, my name is Sway. I love you all. Peace.